Alright, time for the big question. What's next? With 10.1 drawn to a close, at least in terms of major novel content, it's time to look at the future. What's next for the game? And that, of course, is 10.1.5. It's actually bringing a ton of excellent stuff, more than you would have thought by just looking at the roadmap. So, here are 12 of the most important and exciting things that are coming soon. And even at one level, the game is actually just going to look and feel that bit better to play, which I'm pretty interested in. Just like our sponsor. buyraycon.com/Bellular, where you'll get 15% off site-wide. The link is down below, and it's no wonder that the best-selling everyday earbuds have, well, got over 50,000 5-star reviews. But of course, if you want, say, the fitness buds, which step up the water resistance from IPX6 to IPX7, or perhaps the low latency gaming buds, then they've got you covered with those too. Now with these, the look and the feel is absurdly premium and comfortable. I mean, you get an almost custom fit with the 5 included sets of silicone tips. And that means that you just get a real nice seal for that passive isolation. And if I was to just shake my head around, they of course stay in essentially perfectly. And being half the price of the usual suspects is pretty damn nice. And these buds, these buds actually last about twice as long as the last wireless buds that I used to own, and the charge that these actually have, which for me is just so damn handy. They actually last me for the whole workday, which I love. Then connectivity is awesome because basically when you open them up, they will automatically power and pair, which means you just never need to fiddle around with stuff. They've got 33 feet range, so you're basically covered there, and they've got great touch controls for playback, volume, sound profiles, and of course your digital assistants. So hit up buyraycon.com/Bellular to get 15% off site-wide, and with the everyday buds you can pick from 5 gorgeous colors right now. You've got carbon black, electric blue, flare red, rose gold, and what I have, frost white. Alright, the key stuff, obviously, is the big new bit of content you can do, the Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon. For the first time ever, this Mega Dungeon is actually closely tied into the main plotline, not just of the expansion, but something that's been brewing since when the Burning Crusade came out, with the Infinite Dragons being introduced then. There's also a short quest chain attached to this that basically sets up the story. Right, we even see Iridikron's schemes begin to unfold throughout the dungeon, involving Chromie, her evil counterpart Morchi, Galakrond, and Clorono Lord Deos, who of course you will have seen in the new Ultiman. It's got 8 bosses, and right now it drops 421 gear. On PTR it's not upgradable, but I imagine it almost certainly will be. As an example, PTR World Boss gear wasn't upgradable, but it is in live. Of course, that's if it ever drops. As it is then, this is a really attractive bit of content for people who are maybe not doing like the Raid and Heroic or a bunch of Mythic Plus. We're not exactly sure how it ends since the finale is not on PTR, but I think we can expect some pretty damn major story events to happen. I mean, it's not called Dawn of the Infinite for nothing. We're finally going to see Nosdormu's transformation. So for me, certainly this will be fun on alts. Next then, world gameplay. There's new world gameplay, namely a world event that's, like the Feast or the Hunt, but this time it's about time. Time rifts show up around Tyrhold, with 2 of a possible 7 different Azeroth timelines invading and needing to be pushed back. These time rifts show up around Tyrhold, and basically 2 of a possible 7 different timelines try to invade, and they need to be pushed back. Now these are timelines that are pretty fun. They're essentially ones where we lost, their enemies took over. So Black Empire, Titan, Legion, Scourge, Mechanome, and Murloc. And there's also one called the Warlands, where it's all Great Glorious Alliance versus Bloodhorde. It's a bit more metal. Goes kind of hard, it's fun. Anyway, the gameplay is fairly familiar. You spend 8 minutes killing enemies and solving puzzles to gather temporal essence. So, a more combat-focused version of, say, your, the community feast, right? Anyway, the more essence you get, the more you're rewarded in 3 tiers. And then, once the timer's up, you invade back. You basically go into that other timeline and you kill a mini-boss. Now, the reward loop is not fully active on PTR yet, but we can be sure we'll get plenty of things. The most important thing is likely the Paracausal Flakes, which are traded in for a bunch of cool stuff. So, let's talk about the cool stuff. There's a lot of infinite customizations and transmog coming with this patch. There are mounts and pets, as is usual, and a bunch of recolors of the 10-1 outdoor sets, including bronze and infinite themed ones, with bronze and infinite themed weapons that look awesome, and then paracausal fragment trinkets. These are strong-ass items that you're going to want. A bit like the amulet, but less complicated. They also just happen to be some of the coolest trinkets in the game right now. They're cool, like everyone's going to want the Fragment of Frostmourne because it turns you into a lich, and that's sweet. Now, we're not sure just where everything is coming from yet, but most of the stuff, including the trinkets, stuff like that, it's on the vendors for those paracausal flake currencies that you get from the time rifts. Now, we can then be pretty sure that there'll be like appearances from the Mega Dungeon as well. And one of the craziest additions is actually these quantum items for each gear type. We don't know what they are. They're only data mined. They're not in game yet, so they can't be tested. But the items say, add an appearance of this type to your collection from the past. I mean, that could be anything, right? And it's probably not going to be giving you crazy stuff like tier 3 challenge mode pieces, but seemingly a way to farm out like some random bits of Mog. That's going to be stuff that'll make people happy, I think. Yeah, there's also then these insane new infinite dragon riding customizations. Again, we're not exactly sure where they're from. I imagine a mixture of time rifts and likely the Mega Dungeon's final boss. I was kind of expecting a full transformation, that would have been nice, but actually the scale colors, they pretty much do make all the difference. They look sweet. And the way that that's being done with the scale colors, it really does make you think, I mean, a 6th scale color. Is that kind of tipping off that the Infinite are going to be pretty important? A mysterious 6th Dragonflight? We've actually got a video about that in the works, so let me know if you're interested. Anyway, very nice looking gear, but let's move on then to some other gameplay and cosmetics. There's going to be a dragon riding Grand Prix on Kalimdor. It's not full dragon riding in the continent, but for 2 weeks in August, you'll be able to take part in races around the continent. There's a ton of them, 16 courses with 3 difficulties. They each have achievements attached and a currency that you can earn to buy this pretty sweet looking dragon riding armor and teal colored scales for the Velocidrake. Earning all of these requires 120 badges. You get these from doing the races. You also get 10 badges from the intro quest. But overall, you'll need to get gold on 37 of the 48 races, so you better get practicing. Of course, there is other data mine stuff here for the Eastern Kingdoms and Outland, so I imagine there will be future events there as well. We're just not sure, and maybe that won't be in this patch's cycle. We've got a new quest and activity, so this is one of the last rewards for everybody, and it's a new quest line called Whelp Daycare. It's basically just a lovely little set of dailies where you're raising individual whelps from each dragonflight, and you earn them as battle pets once you're done. Each one of them has got a nice little story that unfolds over a few days, so basically, come here for a few weeks, help raise them all up, you'll get a nice little story and some pets. Okay. Remember when we realized that Zul'Gurub had a whole bunch of content in 10.07? The same thing's actually happening here, but this time we know about it ahead of time. The original Scholomance and Naxxramas appearances are making a comeback via ancient crafting patterns. There are even references to vanilla Scholomance characters, which is also really cool. So, between Scholomance and Nax, there'll be some Mog hunting and content to do. Next up, Warlock stuff. Yep, Warlocks do get a lot of pretty sweet content, and if you're a Warlock main, you might want to think about a race change because there's new options. Because now everyone can be a Warlock, right? Everyone. But even if you're happy as you are, you're still eating good in 10.15 with a whole new pet customization system that you can unlock by doing a great new Warlock-only questline. Once it's done, you can just go to the barbershop and swap out your pets, just like what Druids could do with their forms. And there's even a bunch of new ones to go and learn via various grimoires. These come with an upgrade for Imps and Fell Hunters, but unfortunately, your glyph to turn the Fell Hunter into an Observer is dead. I guess they didn't want to update that one. Their reasoning here is to make sure they can be recognized in PvP, and of course, quite a lot of people do disagree with that. Mostly though, pretty awesome change. And this brings us to the end of the new gameplay for everyone, but the patch is still kind of huge. Like, we're getting a whole new spec and a whole new way to play World of Warcraft with the Augmentation Evoker. It's coming. It brings the game's first, modern and full support spec. It's like a more simple version of Devastation Evoker, and it fits a new, unique gameplay fantasy of buffing your allies while you do damage. They even recently looped in their off-healing as a part of their kit via talents, which does mark like a I mean, a new time for gameplay. They also seem to be really strong now in terms of the stats they give to allies, so if a support caster is up your alley, you really might want to try this one out. I mean, this is genuinely exciting. This is a new type of spec in World of Warcraft. I mean, think about people wanting bards, wanting tinker classes. Well, now that's actually possible because the support is here. But that's not it for classes. If you're a more selfish caster, maybe you're just happy to hear that mages, yes, all 3 specs, are getting a pretty juicy rework. It's not finished in PTR yet, but most of the buzz is happy. Rune of Power is gone, so your damage will no longer be deleted when a boss feels like putting some fire on top of your rune. And there's a huge amount of player wishes that are being answered with talents moving around, some things becoming baseline, lovely quality of life changes, and some new toys to play with. This is pretty awesome work from Blizz. I guess I could just say, take it all the way home, add those extra changes, and you'll probably be flying. It looks like this is potentially really good for mages, which I know haven't always been happy in this expansion. That is not it for changes though. If anything that we've said has made you think, maybe I should try a warlock or a mage, there is some good news here. Leveling is being improved. The biggest savior is that riding is no longer a trainable skill. You just automatically earn it at level 10, 20, and 30, which means no porting back to your capital and no gold cost. They've also added a new mount that you can get, so that's kind of cool. Now, along with that, Legion and Beyond dungeons now have got their quests inside them, so you can actually do them via the Finder for a huge burst of XP, and now that you can hit level 61 before you're thrown onto the Dragon Isles, with how Chromie time works, it means that the level 60 power spike doesn't mean that mobs will beat the shit out of you when you first arrive. There's even a new gear update. Apparently, though it's not working right now, it says that you can pick up new gear and bags on characters that you haven't played in a while. Who knows what's going on there, but all in all, I think it's a pretty good time to level up, and they're just fixing some, UX issues. Speaking of which, UX, user experience, and a part of that is the game's UI, how it looks and how it feels. And this may be one of the biggest changes coming. You need to prepare, because you may have noticed something funky when you've been looking at the gameplay footage in today's video, right? There's some new animations and effects. These are actually coming with the patch. They're not an add-on. Basically, they're nice little reinforcement to every button that you can press. They're sweet. We've got new animations for procs, for cooldowns, for cooldown resets, and interrupted casts. And these things are great. It means that players will more readily, actually notice things in their class, and it's just that extra little bit of sauce on top of everything. I mean, you can think about two games, right? One of them, everything looks and feels awesome. Another one, it doesn't. Mechanically, they're identical. Which one will feel better? It'll be the one that's got the look and the feel. We've also got a new cast bar overlay for casts and a new targeting circle for when you're putting down abilities. At the same time, we've also got an official sell all junk button, which is great, and the micro menu has got a bit more colorful to make it a bit easier to see those icons, and elsewhere we've got a bunch of new upscaled icons for your interaction cursor, new options and style for arena frames, and a way to track where your transmog appearances can actually be got from in the collection pane. So these are all awesome UI updates. We're getting them in every patch, and that does mean that by 11.0 the game is actually going to look and feel damn good. Alright, so that's all the most exciting stuff coming in 10.1.5. You might be wondering when. They've only said summer thus far, but I think we can be fairly sure it's going to be in mid-August at the latest, judging by the scheduled Kalimdor Grand Prix, because that's when it's scheduled for. But if we take a look at the timing of patches so far, we can expect it as early July. You see, Dragonflight launched November 15th, 10.05 was 2 months later, January 24th, 10.07, March 21st, just under 2 months after, and 10.1 was May 2nd, which was like 6 weeks later, which is insane. That means, if we expect them to stick to their current speed, we could see this patch coming in the first or second week of July. So all this stuff is almost like a month out, which is pretty damn crazy. Okay, that's it for me today. Now you know what's up with this new patch. It's a minor patch technically, but I think there is a fair amount of content. And remember, that Mega Dungeon will likely turn into 2 Mythic Plus wings in the next patch after this, or at least the next season. And maybe 6 to, let's just say, 12 weeks after this comes out, there will be 10.1.7. Pretty insane. WoW's got content now. All right, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Let me know if this whets your appetite for the game. Is this the sort of thing that you'd like to see? If you maybe bugged out during Shadowlands because times weren't looking good, is this kind of cadence enough to actually get you back in the game and make you feel like your sub money is actually going somewhere? Let me know. But that's it from me, and I'll see you next time.